Coming up on Don't Lift Off.
No one's ever asked me before, but like, who's the best drivers you ever raced against? And 2000, I was lucky enough to be teammates with Kimi Räikkönen in Formula Renault UK, and he won the championship and then went straight into Formula One the following season because I went for a gap.
You went for a gap and it just closed.
Wasn't there.
Yeah.
And it was on the data once we got it back, 136 miles an hour, and that's at the top of the Macau Tower, which is, if I remember correctly, 233 metres in height. Trying to squeeze in front of me actually was Flavio Briatore. So I went up and knocked on his window and said, Flavio, sorry, I'm Danny Watts, I'm currently leading the Formula Renault UK Championship. He was boss of Renault F1 at the time.
Yeah.
Here's my CV. When you get a moment, take a look at it. To win Le Mans twice in 7 goes at it is quite a decent percentage rate, you know.
That's like the best selfie ever.
It is, yeah.
It's like amazing.
Yeah, I'm sitting in my living room on my own, crying my heart out on my knees, begging for help. Coming out the other side gives me a good skill set in helping others. We at the BRDC are there with a dedicated email address and phone number. Even if it's just listen, get something off your chest. It's totally confidential, discreet, it won't go any further. Whether that be help you get into rehab or give you some counselling or whatever level, we can tap into that and we can help.
Welcome back to the Don't Lift Off podcast. Today I'm heading down to go and see an old friend of mine. It's a very personal one for me, this. Danny Watts, I've known since the late 1990s when we worked together at Silverstone. So I'm actually heading down to Silverstone to see Danny today, to go to meet him at the Escapade building, actually, which I've not been inside. So looking forward to doing that as well. As I say, I've known Danny since the 1990s. We both did karting from the mid-90s, although Danny, I think, is a little bit younger than me. So we never actually raced together in karting, but we kind of knew each other. I think we were both on novice plates at the same time, actually. We worked together for years and years at Silverstone and also on pure McLaren events and various other social events over the years. He's a good mate. I've watched him become not only a race winner in karting, but gone on to become a multiple race winner and champion in single-seaters and in Le Mans prototypes. So, for instance, he was Formula First champion, Formula Renault champion, beating Lewis Hamilton in his championship year, I should add, although it was Lewis's first year in cars, but still, he did see him off. Race winner in Formula 3, raced over in Macau, was a front runner. I think he's a bit of a Macau specialist. When single-seater opportunities dried up, he then went to race Porsche Carerra Cup, so he's a multiple race winner in Porsche Carerra Cup and in Porsche Super Cup in Europe, and then went on to become a prolific driver in LMP prototype cars, so LMP1 and then LMP2, culminating in him winning Le Mans in LMP2, so on the podium at Le Mans, which was one of the world's biggest races. He also had a few challenges, or has had a few challenges in his life, and I've seen them too, and I'm absolutely thrilled to say that he's overcome those challenges. He's now become a project leader. He's spearheading the British Racing Drivers Club's mental health and wellness project. And I can't think of anyone any more qualified to do that than Danny, given what he's been through. And I'm absolutely thrilled that he's taken on this challenge and he's back and fit and healthy. And I'm really looking forward to catching up with him. It's been a little while. I've bumped into him last year in the paddock and I said, must do a podcast at some point. And I'm thrilled to bits that he said yes. I'm really looking forward to heading down to Silverstone and catching up with Danny and seeing what he's learned from motor racing, being at the forefront. He's Kimi Räikkönen's teammate at one point. He's mixed it with the very best in the sport. He's had some couple of decent shunts along the way as well, so I'm hoping to relive a couple of those for a bit of entertainment. He's also an Oxford United fan, so come on you Yellows. So I'm hoping to have a little bit of a chat. There's actually an Oxford game, so we're hopefully getting the podcast done before Oxford play Hull City. Enough of me waffling on. Hope you enjoy the podcast. If you do, please like and subscribe. All right, enjoy the conversation. So it looks like we've got a general test day on today. Pretty cool. Yeah, it's funny really when I come back to Silverstone. There's a lot changed and a lot stayed the same. When I come around this bit, I think of minibus races on a corporate day, like first activity of the day before you even start your corporate day. Who can be the first to each activity? Usually like cutting across various gravel roads and whatever. But yeah, it was a bit strange. Like, it was nearly 30 years ago when I first started working here, and well, we've got this new Escapade complex. You'll just see it in the background there. I'll see if I can turn the camera around so you get a proper shot. So I hear good things about this place actually. I heard the food is very good, and you know what's really cool is it's open to the general public. So you probably have to book a table here, which is what I've done today. But the fact that you can just rock up here on a test day, book yourself a table and go and stand at Luffield and go and watch a bit of testing is really cool. The lady on the gate was very welcoming, and yeah, I mean, considering this is home of the British Grand Prix, and do you know this place? It was the very first Grand Prix championship race. So when Formula One became a world championship, this was the very first race in what, 1950 I think it was. And it's cool that you can just turn up here and can have a bite to eat. So you can go to the museum and see a bit of heritage. It's funny enough, actually, Danny's helmet is in the museum, which is quite cool. Getting the Oxford United colours in the Silverstone Museum. But yeah, it's a really good place to come, and it feels very welcoming actually. So that's good. Well done, Silverstone. Good to see you, pal.
And you.
Cheers. Tell me about your karting first of all, because it's like, how long ago was it that you first started karting? It was like
So
90s, early 90s?
my dad and I went to Milton Keynes, an indoor kart track there called Magna Carta. It was when I was 12, so that would have been 92. Just did it for fun. In fact, funnily enough, my whole career's just been for fun. I never took it too seriously. And I guess that's where it all started. I think I met there one of the other guys you interviewed, Ian Flux, because he's a local guy to Milton Keynes.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And
Stony Stratford, isn't he?
I think Newport Pagnell,
yeah,
maybe.
that's it, yeah.
And Rob Garfield was there, and basically my dad entered me into my first ever race for my 13th birthday, because I wasn't allowed to race because of my age before that, against Rob, against Ian, and won it. And then I think one of the two of them said to us, "Oh, you need to go and try outdoor karting." So, okay, what's that all about? How does it work? And did a bit of homework on it. And next thing you know, my dad's bought a kart off somebody well known called Robbie Kerr.
Yeah.
Strangely enough, it was a ARC TKM kart that he'd just finished third in the Junior TKM Super 1 Championship.
So what sort of year was this then?
So this was 93.
93, okay, yeah.
And we didn't have any budget. It was just my dad who sells windows, doors and conservatories at the time. So
And
we
you were
had
living
one
in
engine.
Brackley then? Was that
I was
You're Brackley
living
boy
in Buckingham.
originally? Buckingham, okay.
So Buckingham is my hometown. And funnily enough, being here now, sitting here at Silverstone, I can see the museum, which was where I first started working up here at the indoor karting track, formerly.
Yes, yeah,
And
yeah.
then, of course, down at the driving school here. And of course, not to mention the many amount of laps that between us, we've done around the GP circuit, national, international, and so forth. But yeah, the karting, started outdoor karting. This was only Shennington, Kimbolton club meetings.
So Shenny and Kim were your two local circuits, like it was for me.
It was.
Do you ever get to? Oh, I know it now. I know the answer to this already. You ever get to Rizzy? Or I was going to say. Now I know the answer to this.
You beat me to it.
Go on.
That was my favourite track in the UK.
Proper.
So we did the Midland Champs there, maybe
Yep.
in the middle of the summer. Really fast, high-speed circuit, and I suppose that type of circuit always was my strong point. Anything slow speed, technical, where you need to be, quite efficient, I wasn't very good. But anything high speed where you needed some bravery, throw that in there. Then that was my type of corner. So then the karting, I was always 1 year behind Robbie Kerr, right?
Okay.
So when he went to Formula First in '97 and won the championship, I spoke with Robbie because we stayed friends ever since, buying his car off him and his father.
Yeah.
He said, "Oh, you want to do single-seaters and Formula First Championship?" We did it with Mark Burdett. They're a good team. And, okay, I was lucky enough to fall upon some sponsorship from a local business in Daventry, ASD Klockner & Co, multi-metal distribution company, who came from my godfather, who was my mechanic in karting. So it all links up.
Okay, yeah.
So therefore I went and did Formula First in '98.
Before you did that, what did you do? Sorry to interrupt.
Yes.
What did you do in karting? So you did a couple of years of junior TKM, was it, or something like that?
93 and 94, and then 95 went to 100C, which was like clubbing
100C.
at the time.
So, no, it couldn't have been, that must have been 96, was it? Because I did 100C in 95.
Yeah, you could be right. You could be right.
So maybe it was 96, maybe it was the year
It's
that...
a long time ago, and I can't remember what I did last week.
The funny thing is, I was thinking, not can I? Should try speaking to my mum. She's got Alzheimer's. She can't remember what she'd have for breakfast. Anyway, but I just remember you from karting, although we didn't race against each other from karting.
Yeah.
But I knew of you, and I remember you on novice plates. So that would have been 93-ish.
It
then.
was, yeah.
So who were your main rivals in like junior TKM and in 100C?
I guess it would have been Gary Paffett. It was Harry Soden. Who else was there? I can't remember any others.
Did you do Super One, or was this all
did
you
Super One?
Just
Not in juniors.
local?
Only in 100C and then 100B. I finished third in Super One.
96 and
Can't
maybe,
remember.
yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, because 98, from what I looked on the thing up for Formula First, was 98.
Yes.
So that must have been...
That's right. 96 was 100C, Super One, and then the following year I think we went to 100B, but only club meetings.
that's what this photo is from, that's 100B,
That's
right?
100B, Kimbolton, yeah. And funny looking at that as my, third year in karting, the helmet design hasn't changed till, the day dot where I stopped actually. And kept the same design.
Did you have that right from almost novice plates, that helmet design?
Absolutely, yeah.
Because I want to go to... It's shown in the Silverstone Museum. Have you managed to get that back yet, or is it still in the museum?
It's still in there, I believe. But
amazing.
it was like one of the big things when we first started. My dad and I kind of agreed on it's got to be Oxford United colours, of course, yellow and blue.
Yeah.
And my dad was a little bit of a fan of Riccardo Patrese.
Ah, yes, yeah.
So whose helmet design was blue and white.
Yeah.
So we changed the white to the yellow, but kept his fundamental design as it
very
in its
distinctive.
phase. So the stripes working its way up, getting thinner and thinner.
Yeah. Well, it's funny actually. When I've done a bit of research just to find out sort of pictures that I could find on the net, I can always tell when it's you driving because it's the bright yellow helmet, and you can spot it. And even if it's just a fleck of it inside the cockpit, you can always. And that's what Hamilton had a bright yellow helmet back in the day, and that was for the reason so his old man could spot him in the karting pack, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I think it ends up being your signature. And like you say, people get to know you, your helmet design. Okay, so times have changed now whereby the side support in single seaters are so high now you can't see as much as the helmet.
Yeah.
But certainly, you do Formula 3 and then you go indoor karting for a charity event or whatever, everyone recognises your helmet design, don't they? It becomes part of you, part of your profile, part of your makeup, and
it's your signature.
It's your
This
signature.
is what I mean. Call me old school, but that is part of your signature, part of your theme. When they talk about branding and stuff, it's like that's part of your theme. It just baffles me when you see these drivers like with multicolour helmets that you can't really distinguish, and then they change them from race to race all the time.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So that was my signature.
So yeah, and so you did. This race was it Le Mans? Do you say? Was that all part of the same sort of time, or was this? This looks a lot later.
This is a lot later because you asked me to find some karting pictures, and that was the only picture that I could find from back in the day. I'm sure stored away somewhere within the family are stacks and piles of the old type of printable pictures,
newspaper
that you used
cuttings,
to get, Jessops or whatever.
Yeah.
So this was karting a lot nearer at the time. So probably around 2000 and what would that have been? 13-ish. Straka Racing. That was at the Le Mans karting track. And that was a PR event we did, a lot of us drivers. In fact, that's Karen Chandok in the background, I noticed there.
Cool.
That all the drivers did as part of a PR stunt, and which was, when you think about it, quite dangerous, getting a load of race drivers together on a karting track before the 24 hours of Le Mans, right?
What could possibly go wrong?
Yeah. And luckily, they had the bumpers all the way around the kart. So
because when you started it, if it was 93, you'd have had Nassau panels on the front, but the wheels were essentially open, weren't they?
They were.
Yeah.
And I'd say probably karting was one of the only forms of motorsport I didn't roll at some stage.
Oh, didn't you?
Did you roll a kart?
I did. I rolled it. I rolled at Rizzy. You know,
Okay.
after start finish line right, next right, then into the left.
Yeah.
I went up like the inside of John Daltry or someone like that. Remember John Daltry from back in the day?
He did 100C Super 1 when I did it.
Did he?
In fact, he was number 2. Lee Rennison won it. John was number 2. I was number 3.
Here's a funny thing, right? It's funny you should mention that. So Lee Rennison was a good driver, right? My last proper kart race that I did, I'd raced cars from 96 to sort of whenever, 99. I came back in 2001. I did a Rotax Max race at Kimbolton with Stu Zemelis. It was his kit, and guess who I was racing against? Lee Rennison, and he was the number 1 plate there, and we had a mega race all the way through. Like I won one heat, he won the other 2, so therefore got pole, and I was second in that heat that we finished first in, and we had a mega, literally nose to tail for the whole thing. We got the length of the straight in front of the 3rd place guy, and literally I didn't quite pass him, so I finished on his bumper at the end. Good little driver was Lee Rennison.
Well, I'll go further with that and say that no one's ever asked me this before, but who's the best drivers you ever raced against? And 2000, I was lucky enough to be teammates with Kimi Räikkönen.
Okay.
In Formula Renault UK, and he won the championship and then went straight into Formula 1 the following season.
Yeah.
So he would be, clearly one of the best drivers I raced against. However, alongside that, I would put Lee Rennison as one of my fiercest and hardest rivals in karting. That year we touched base on in 96 100C British Championship, because we had some almighty battles up and down the country at different tracks. He ultimately won the championship, I was 3rd. But I guess it was hard but fair, but on the limit driving. It was really good, and I rate him as right up there with one of the best I've certainly raced against. And I haven't seen him since, funnily enough. I know that he's down Clay Pigeon where he maybe runs a kart track down there, but it'd be one person I'd love to shake his hand and say, do you remember going wheel to wheel at Three Sisters Wigan, at Clay Pigeon, at Rowra that year that we raced against each other, because it was hard fought battles and probably helped shape me to be, have that inbuilt aggression in your driving today that I learned so much from him.
Yeah.
Cracking driver, yeah.
Well, that's a nice thing about a podcast. So if you're watching Lee, or if you're someone who knows Lee's watching, then give me a shout and I'll put you guys into... I'd actually like to have a conversation about that race that we had. Because the funny thing is, I didn't know who he was. I just saw him, it was this number 1 plate kid. Right, okay, well, game on then, let's see what we can do. And it was literally just a kind of one-off weekend. And it's 26 years ago, and that still feels quite new to me. Yeah, flipping hell. So, so who was second in the championship that year then?
John Daltry.
John Daltry was second then.
He was, yeah.
Yeah, because he passed away, didn't he?
I heard that.
Yeah. I think it was epilepsy. I think he had some kind of epileptic episode. But I just remember him. We used to call him Basher Daltry. Can you remember my two uncles? Like Pitbull, Stephen and Clifford, because Robbie Kerr remembers that, and that's how sort of I got to know Robbie, because they used to slap my uncle's forehead. but yeah, they were like Grant and Phil Mitchell. But yeah, we used to call him Basher Daltry. But the brilliant thing, because he won the championship not long after that, I think maybe sort of 97, 98ish, probably after you would gone into cars, and he'd come back and he'd won the championship. He was good. He was good. Yeah, but just a bit too aggressive back then. He would fire it off.
Maybe, but I'll let you into a little secret, okay? So, Clay Pigeon Super 1 that year, he was leading the final. I was second, coming down into the hairpin final lap.
Yeah.
And I was just right
into Billy's blind after the start finish, you mean?
No, it was further round the chicane, down the back straight into the right hairpin.
Yeah, I know what you mean, yeah.
And I was right under him coming into there, and I only had one thing on my mind, and that was just to push him wide, go through and win the race.
Give him a little tap.
And that's what I did. But unfortunately, we ended up in the stewards' room afterwards, and I lost that battle, rightly so. And
what,
he won
the
race.
Room?
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah, but I'd already had it predetermined that I'm going to win this no matter what.
Right, did you?
So he won the race and I was second.
No.
So you might call him Basher or whatever, but
yeah.
On this case, talking in this instance, that was me, Basher Watts.
Basher Watts, that's funny. That's funny. Well, I wrote his dad, when I found out he'd passed away, I wrote his dad a letter and to say, I remember him at Rissington. This would have been 94, actually it would have been 95, and I thought I was good, and it was in the wet, and I thought I was the rainmeister. I thought I was the boy, and to be fair, I was usually somewhere there or thereabouts. And I remember him coming past me, first right-hander, into the left, then the next right-hander, coming past me, and then disappearing up the road, and I was like, he's good, this kid.
Yeah, he was, no doubt about it, he was quick, for sure.
So that was, so you went out of car. What made you go into cars then? Did you just think, well, I want to sort of progress this and...
It was the right age, that was the first thing. But I think more than anything, I was lucky enough to have some backing and sponsorship behind me to move up to the next level. And Formula First, having spoke to Robbie Kerr, was an affordable level, the next stage up. Bit of an agricultural car, I remember, with a normal XR2 Ford gearbox, so you had to change gear with the clutch.
Yeah.
And it had treaded tyres on it. It moved around a lot. Forget about any aero. That is a brick, fundamentally.
Yeah.
But
racing,
what it
grids.
did is give you great racing.
Yeah.
Big grids. My teammate at the time at Mark Burdett Motorsport was a champion jockey who I didn't really know much about at the time, which was Richard Dunwoody.
Yeah.
And he was good. He certainly pushed me. And
was he? Was he a good little peddler?
He was on his day.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he came on a lot throughout the season, but a thoroughly nice guy, and we actually met up afterwards and went to Newby Racecourse and was a guest of his at one of his races and hung about with him, and it was super cool.
Yeah, nice.
And I was lucky enough to win that season, quite a few races I believe, and that kind of started the snowball. Did
you win like 10 races that year or something?
Yeah,
you pretty much dominated it, did you?
Yeah, something like that. It was all right. And then that was like a stepping stone into Formula Palmer Audi Winter Series,
FPA,
which was super strong with some top drivers: Gary Paffett, Derek Hayes, Richard Lyons, Justin Keane, who else? Andy Prio. And that was proper slicks and wings, going from essentially a 100 brake horsepower car into a 280 brake horsepower car with a boost button.
Yeah.
And I was probably slightly out of my depth.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember
was-
that. Yeah.
What? That I was out of my depth.
No, I don't. Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to come out like that. What I meant is, at the time, I just remember, and this is how my mind worked. Is that I remember you weren't you were struggling a bit in FPA, and it was so gratifying to see when you gradually were making more and more steps in Formula Renault. Because I had a similar thing when I raced in Vauxhall Junior. I wanked. Excuse my French, but I wanked in Vauxhall Junior. Really, I mean, it was Class B. That was against like Stuart Smith was my main rival in Class B, and Mark Boost. Remember Mark Boost?
I do.
He was very good actually, Mark Boost. So he won the thing. But I remember like turning up for my first race. I was like 2 seconds off the pace. I mean, a Class B car ain't 2 seconds away from, or back in the day it wasn't.
Yeah.
So it was just a bit too much of a step. Do you think?
It was my learning year. That's what I put it down to, the Winter Series and then, of course, the main series in '99, because I was A, slow, and B, I hit everything going, every barrier, every circuit, and I caused a lot of damage. But what I learned out the whole year was a huge amount.
Right.
And that paid dividends for my next years in Formula Renault UK Championship.
Yeah.
So I got that out of the system, and then that's when we really settled down and started putting results together, and whilst matching that with being fast and keeping it on the black stuff.
Yeah, yeah. So who was that? I think I've got some photos from back in the Renault day. That looks like Croft, maybe? Something like that?
So that's 2002, the year I won the championship with Will Davison, Lewis Hamilton, Mark McLaughlin, Rob Bell. I think Pat Long was in it. That was a strong year. But I have to say that was my third year in the category. So 2000, if we rewind slightly, I went with Manor Motorsport, one of the best teams, with Tony Shaw, Simon Finnis, and obviously Kimi as a teammate. That
was your first year having Räikkönen as your teammate?
Yeah,
was it?
First and only, because then he catapulted himself straight into Formula One from Formula Renault, which is kind of unheard of these days, of course.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's where I really knuckled down and worked hard at it, because I wasn't ever the most naturally gifted. But I looked at data, I made all my notes, which I still do to this day for other drivers I coach for.
I'll challenge you on that slightly when you say about not most naturally gifted, because if you'd finished third in Super 1 in your, third year of karting, you must have had something that you were good at in that. But, so what you're saying is you improved what you were doing, you mean?
Yeah.
You raised your game a bit more.
Yeah, and I think without a shadow of a doubt, Räikkönen sort of pushed me to do that, because when I looked at his data, for example, I don't know, let's throw Old Hairpin at Donington in there, or any other corner in the world for that matter, when we did it, you know, I'd come in thinking, right, okay, that's the fastest I can drive. And I'd look at his data, he would brake later than me, have a higher minimum speed, and get a better exit all the way out to McLean's.
Right.
So that's when it was like, okay, we've got to work a bit here and write some notes and get a circuit map and work out where we need to go faster. And that work ethic has stayed with me to this day, and you know, trying to instill that mindset into young drivers to not make the mistakes I did back in the day is how I kind of approach all young drivers that I work with to this day. But that was a decent year. I won a race at Brands Hatch, I think, on the GP circuit, and
that was your first year of doing it?
Renault Euro Cup, we were runner-up at Mugello, which was great, against some cracking names. Felipe Massa was there, Antonucci, Carl Breeze, Tom Sisley, you'll remember.
Yeah. Well, Carl Breeze was, when I did 100C in '95, he was one of my main rivals. I mean, I ended up finishing fifth in a championship all the way through the year.
Ricardo Massano did it that year, didn't he?
Why haven't we mentioned Ricardo Massano?
I was speaking with him only the other day.
Yes, yeah. How did you know Ricardo then?
We were in the same team karting for a few races, and he come under our awning, and we just had a right laugh, and he only lived down the road from Buckingham, and
was he a fairly local fellow, was he?
He was, Luton.
Right.
And he's just a
Luton
cracking
Italian
lad who knew everything about karting, inside out, great working on the karts. And we just had there's a small group of us that socialised, you know, at kart tracks and in the evenings as you do, and then away from the kart track, you know.
He was a lovely fella. So he ended up finishing second in the championship the year I did it, which I was really annoyed at, because I thought I was like fighting for the championship all the way through, and then I just had a really bad last round for whatever reason. We ended up starting to run with Paul Cohen, anyway. That's not negative towards Paul because his kit was mega, I should add. But yeah, Ricardo is a lovely fella, real lovely. I'd like to catch up with him soon, so we should organise.
Yeah,
get together
he hasn't
at some
changed,
point.
by the way.
Hasn't he?
No, not changed.
2 tenths, 3 tenths, 2 tenths, 3 tenths. That's it. What's he doing with himself anyway now?
Have a guess.
Karting.
Yes.
Is he?
Mechanicking.
Is he?
Spannering. Yeah, he loves it. He's done it years. This is his baby, isn't it?
Proper.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny the people that you come across. If you come across a fella called Jimmy Jones,
No.
do you remember Gary Chapman?
Yes.
So I took my daughter
Yeah.
out for a run in a Rotax Junior at
Yeah.
Wilton Mill, and Jimmy Jones, one of my old racals, was a mechanic for the day. It was
Really?
like, wow, here we are, like 30 years later, and yeah, a few more wrinkles on our face. And
Racing's such a small world, and that includes karting as well, doesn't it? And it's
Yeah.
where it all started. It's the whole route of where it all began, and so you never leave your roots. And I've still been to loads of kart tracks since, because it's just part of your makeup, isn't it? Karting, it's so raw.
Yeah.
You know, there's no. Well, there is politics, I'm sure, but it's not like what you see at the higher echelons of the sport. And seeing these little tiny 8-year-olds at cadet level, bambino level, you know, with their big helmets on, just
Yeah.
racing wheel to wheel with each other, just having
the little neck supports, yeah.
having so much fun though, you know,
Yeah.
bringing it back down to that of having fun, not the seriousness of climbing the ladder towards.
Well, that for
Formula
me, it was like when I started at Silverstone, that was kind of a watershed moment for me, because all the people that you were kind of looked up to from reading Autosport, you were suddenly working with, like your Michael Vergers and someone who I gave a call last night to was Johnny Kane, actually, because we worked with him at well, I actually first met him through the Pure McLaren thing, but it's like it's big name, you know, it's the sort of big person you'd read. He was like, you know, national Formula 4 champion, and then you find yourself working him. And I mean, well, fast forward, I'll ask you a little bit about that, because you obviously raced with him for a good number of years. Can you remember what this is?
So what have you got up here? It's Oulton Park, and it looks like a Formula Renault race. And if you combine the two, there's only one end result in this, isn't there?
Danny Watts learning to fly a Formula Renault car. That is funny. I'll play it anyway, just for a bit of entertainment. So yeah, this has quite a lot of hits on YouTube, this video. So you were racing. What year was this?
That was 2001, Falcon Motorsport. And the two guys in front of me, one went to Formula 1, Heikki Kovalainen, in the blue car, and then the white car's Richard Antonucci.
Oh, okay. Is this for the? This must be for the lead, is it?
No, this was the leader's gone, whoever that was.
Oh, okay.
I believe, yeah, there they are. So that's
Kovalainen basically moved over on you at this point.
No,
I'm only joking.
no, it was all my fault, because I went for a gap.
You went for a gap and it
that
just closed.
wasn't there.
Yeah.
And it was on the data once we got it back, 136 miles an hour, and it all happened very slowly. That's what I remember.
Really?
Yep. And I suppose the funniest thing about it was, my mum didn't come to watch that many races, and she always phoned me up on a Sunday night to see how I got on. And she phoned me on the Sunday night after this, find out how I got on, and I said to her, "Oh, I didn't do very well today, Mum. I spun off." But what I forgot was that the following Sunday morning on a Channel 4 programme, really early, 7 a.m. or something, they showed highlights. So
Yeah.
of course, Mum used to get up religiously to watch that, and she saw it. She says, "Oh my God, Daniel, what happened there? You know, perhaps you ought to consider taking up another sport that's a little safer."
Did you get clearance from air traffic control to?
But you know what? The best thing about it was, a week later, it was the next round at Silverstone, and clearly I destroyed the car. The team had to get a new one shipped in from Italy, Tata chassis,
Yeah.
build it up from scratch. And we had the official, so that was on the Sunday. On the Friday, it was here at Silverstone. We had the official test. First session we went out, whole new engine, everything, you name it. The engine broke, so we missed the afternoon session.
It was on the national circuit, was it?
international.
International, yeah, back in the day, yeah.
And so I missed the 2 test days and then went out in qualifying. I think I qualified second. I won the race, and the biggest memory I have about that is when I drove down the pit lane, all the other teams were clapping as I come down pit lane to say,
well done, lad.
you know, well done, coming from such a big accident to winning a race straight away.
Yeah, brilliant.
That resilience, bounce back and not affecting you, which of course, and I'm sure we'll talk about it later, how that is such a big thing these days, of, you know, having that, a big accident can take you a step back.
Yeah.
Mentally, emotionally, physically, and maybe in some circumstances you won't be able to bounce back as well as that. The times have changed, haven't they? But yeah,
Did you go through any process to do that, or did you just kind of put it behind you?
Yeah, I put my helmet on, got back in the car, a bit like riding a bike, right? When you fall off it.
Yeah.
Got back
Get
on the
back on as
bike
soon as you
and
could.
started pedalling.
Yeah.
That's all I did.
Yeah.
So no,
Didn't overcomplicate
No.
it, just right.
No.
Yeah. Interesting. So that was it's funny, look at this photo Lola, from back in the day. Do you remember that? Where was that?
So that's at the Macau Grand Prix in Formula 3.
Oh, was that F3, was it?
It was.
Ah, okay. I thought that was... Oh, yeah, of course, you got
So
the McLaren
it's-
Autosport overalls
It's
on at
the
that
year we did Formula Renault, but at the end of the year, a lot of drivers moved up into Formula 3 or started F3 testing.
Yes.
And then that was a November event, middle of November.
Right.
A lot of drivers, you know, went to Macau as their first toe in the water of Formula 3 before going into full campaign the following year.
I see.
So we both did exactly that. And that's at the top of the Macau Tower, which is, if I remember correctly, 233 metres in height. And that was another PR thing we did together before. That was the Wednesday, and then Thursday we were in the car learning the circuit.
So I seem to remember you enjoying Macau. That's one of the things. I spoke to Rob about our mutual friend Rob Barth, and and he said, Macau. Ask him about Macau. So that's
It's
proper
a place that I'm highly passionate about. Love talking about it, and where I've had so many unbelievable good memories. Not only the driving part, but also the cultural side of walking around Macau itself and Hong Kong in the downtime, either before the event or after. My sponsors were mainly Hong Kong based,
Oh, were
so I
they?
built up a whole new friendship base out there, which when it wasn't the race meeting, I'd go back in the middle of the season, weekend off racing, and go and visit all my friends and sponsors out there.
Mega.
Just as a catch up. And it's one race that I did 13 consecutive times.
Did you
that
really?
will hold a very, very prominent part in my heart.
13 consecutive Macaus.
I was very lucky, yeah, and it's for sure the best track in the world, most challenging, the toughest. You know, we're always talking about these issues about track limits, right?
Yeah.
There's no track limits at Macau, right?
It's a barrier.
It's a barrier. So
That's
if you
your
make
track
a
limit.
mistake, you're punished. You can't just, for instance, here at Silverstone, Copse Corner, go wide and make an advantage by going off onto the extra tarmac and then get that blasted track limit 5-second penalty.
Yeah.
You go wide at Macau,
Barrier.
you're in the wall. That's the end
Yeah.
of your session. It's
Two
the end of
wheels
your
off
race.
straight away.
So that's why I love the place, because you have to be precise, you have to be accurate, you have to drive it properly and get the basics right. There's no getting away with stuff like you can now.
Is this F3? Is this? That's F3, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. What sort of year is that?
So that was with what was Midland Euro Series, so Colin Collins' team,
Okay, yeah.
with what looks like Charlie Kimball, Christian Baccarat, and Nicholas Lapierre maybe behind.
Yeah.
I think. There's always a strong field at Macau. You've got the best from obviously Japan coming across with the Nissan, the Tom's Toyota, Honda back drivers. Then at the time it was like European F3. They're the best of them would go over. Invite only event, of course, and then the
Oh, is
best
it?
of the British F3 Championship. So you had the best Formula 3 teams worldwide going to the event as a big one-off kind of World Cup final, if you like. And it certainly had an end of season vibe, being in the middle of November.
Is that when it is? Yeah.
You've also got the super bikes there, you've got the touring cars there. You used to have the scooter race. You've got
Scooter race?
the
Really?
local sort of Hong Kong versus Macau races. So you had the whole spectrum of motorsport there, from bikes to touring cars to GT to Formula 3 single-seaters.
Right, it's all
which
on the
made it
same
so
weekend.
super special, yeah.
Yeah, proper. So it's always, if you're not in car, you'd be wanting to watch other stuff, especially if there's like bikes and stuff on.
Fantastic, yeah.
Yeah.
Bikes always woke you up. One of my memories is they're out at 7 a.m. in the morning. So you'd be in bed and you don't need to set an alarm clock because you'd hear the bikes go past down Mandarin Corner into Lisboa, waking you up before we had to go to the circuit for our session mid-morning.
Mega.
So yeah, it's little things like that you always remember as being special moments with Macau.
Yeah, especially that time of year. It's been quite warm as well over there.
Normally, yeah. It has rained at times before, which makes it super sketchy, very
Right.
slippery, because no one knows the grip level, because you've got the taxis, the buses, the local cars going around, excuse me, during the daytime, normally. And of course it's closed during the race weekend meeting, but then 6 p.m. opened up again for all the bus, so you don't know how slippery or grippy it is. And we touched base on making a mistake. You have to really build up to it in the wet around there, so it is very, very difficult.
Yeah, sounds like a cool circuit. Just rewinding a little bit back to F3. So you eventually champion in Formula Renault, and then you got F3 opportunities. But who was that with? Was it with Docking or someone like that?
So
Promotechnic?
after I won the
Promotechnic or
Formula
something?
Renault UK Championship, here's a funny story for you, Anthony, actually.
Yeah.
I was here at the Grand Prix. After the race, I was queuing to get out of the car park, and in front of me, trying to squeeze in front of me, actually, was Flavio Briatore.
Right.
So I had one of my little cheap and nasty prospectuses about Danny Watts with a few dodgy pictures that me and my dad had stuck together on a bit of A4 paper and stapled it together. And I had one of them in the car, and I noticed it was Flavio, and we were going nowhere, stuck in this traffic to get out of the bloody circuit. So I thought, I'll give him one of my prospectus. So I went up and knocked on his window and said, Flavio, sorry, I'm Danny Watts. I'm currently leading the Formula Renault UK Championship. He was boss of Renault F1 at the time.
Yeah.
Here's my CV. When you get a moment, take a look at it. And I got back in my car and I could see him reading through it because we couldn't go nowhere because the traffic was so bad. I went on, so that was July when the Grand Prix was on. End of the year, I won the Formula Renault UK Championship. Next thing I had a call from Flavio's right-hand man, who was Bruno Michel, saying, would I like to come and be part of the Renault driver development program, which is the F1 Junior. And I got that gig for the following year, and that's how it come about, really.
So that was like that was the staircase to F1 then, wasn't it?
It was. They had a number of young drivers on their books, all taking part
was
in
he on their
different.
books back then?
Frank Montagny, Carlo Van Dam, Fabio Carboni, Heikki Kovalainen, and an Argentinian who did world touring cars for years. Can't remember his name. But anyway, yeah, so that was how, funny little story of how,
That's funny.
just a silly
you
little...
just took that opportunity.
Yeah, how fate kind of, I was lucky to have one of my little sub-optimal CVs in the car, and I could see him reading it as we were trying to get out of the track. Luckily, I won the championship, and that door opened, and that's how I got this picture, which was with High Tech Racing, which is their first year in British Formula 3 in 2003.
Right, okay. So was it a Renault back thing?
It
back
was,
then?
partly, yeah.
Yeah.
I still had to find a few of my own sponsors, which, well, the owner of the circuit here, BRDC, helped out with a little bit. Who have also been a fundamental part of my career and as a person, in different ways, shapes and forms. Not only as a driver, but away from that, helping me out just as a human being.
Yeah, I want to ask you about. I want to cover a little bit about your LMP stuff first, but
Yes.
I also want to come on to that because that's something that is very important and close to my heart as well in terms of like your journey, I suppose. So how did the F3 go? Did you have enough budget to do it? And this particular story I quite like because of the chassis that you did this in. So, can you remember this race and what this was all about? This was a comeback race, I think, wasn't it?
So this is 2004, and we really didn't have the budget to do another year of Formula 3, which was a shame, because I finished 4th in the championship year previous.
Yeah.
Had a really good year, and I thought, right, let's go for it in year 2. But however, the budget wasn't there. We had an opportunity with Lola, who were working together with Japanese Dome company to build a chassis to try and conquer the ever domineering Dallara chassis.
Yeah.
And we got tasked with driving that for the season, and we really made it, developed it, made it faster, better, more reliable, dialed it in, did a lot of development work. That is where I really started to learn about the technical side of Formula 3, which at the time was very open, so you could, you know, add your own little bits on, really work at the engineering side of it, and I really enjoyed that. That was good fun, and I think we finished 5th in the championship that year, maybe, with, as this picture we can see in front of us shows, at Castle Combe.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, I was only ever good at Castle Combe because it's fast. It's a common theme here, right, from Rissington to anything high speed.
That's one of the things that Johnny Kane said. He said, like, I said, you know, what was the difference in between yourself and Danny? He said, he was mega in the fast stuff. I was good in the slow technical stuff.
Very true.
And he said, but between us as a combination, we did well because of those two attributes. Dragged each other on, I suppose.
We definitely did that, and I'll never forget our Stracker engineer. One of them said to us, "Oh, if we had a Johnny Watts or a Danny Kane, we'd be all right."
Funny, funny. Yeah, but when there's 3 of you racing together, then...
Yeah, I mean, look, are we talking sports car racing now?
Yeah, I suppose so. What happened on the Renault F1
Yes.
thing? Where did that end up going?
So I was on that for 1 year, and that year at High Tech, I guess it was fair to say that honestly I wasn't fully into the racing. There was other things in life that I wanted to pursue, like any 20-year-old wants to, I guess, at the time, and that was nightclubs, that was living life to the absolute maximum, and I guess the racing was a secondary. Therefore, I didn't meet the criteria that Renault set, which was to finish 3rd in the championship. I finished 5th, and that was the end of my contract with Renault F1. And that's when the Lola Dome Promotech me with Chris Weller, local guy.
Yeah.
And Lola.
That's Marcus Weller's dad.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant guy, great
Yeah.
engineer. And Lola, who at the time were only down the road, Huntingdon,
Yeah, okay.
which is not far from here, got together, and this beautiful combination started and derived.
Yeah, that was mega. I just remember seeing that because at my mind back, because we kind of worked together at Silverstone for a good number of years, and then I kind of, you know, I was off doing my thing, you were off, you're doing your thing, and I just remember that it was just, where's Danny going from here? And then when you came back, flipping out, he's wanting a Lola. It's like no one's wanting a Lola. It's like no one was in a Lola, full stop.
I can't remember the exact fact of how many years it was, but it was many, many years since anything other than a Dallara won a British Formula 3 round. So we did make history, and it was just a wonderful moment with all the hard work that was put in behind the scenes, quite frankly. And yeah, it was good memories of that year.
Proper. And so you eventually, I'm just trying to see if I can scrape through. You won at Thruxton as well? This is probably an earlier year, I'm
Well,
guessing,
this is a funny story if you want me to tell you about it.
Yeah, go on.
So I was coaching for Räikkönen and Robertson Racing in Formula 3.
Okay.
British Formula 3 Championship. And the team boss there, Anthony Boyo Hyatt, he ran the team. He had 3 cars out, one of them which was Mike Conway, who won the championship. The other driver was Bruno Senna.
Right, yeah.
And the other was Dan Clark. Now, Conway had won the championship. This is the final round at Thruxton, and what he wanted to do is try and get Bruno Senna in front of Oliver Jarvis to finish runner-up in the championship, so they were 1-2. Thruxton is renowned for what?
Towing, yeah.
You need to be on pole position, high top speed. So he asked me, right, can you do the final round? And what you need to do is tow Bruno around to pole position, so he wins the races, ends up finishing runner-up to Mike in the championship. So we get teams, championship and drivers 1-2. No problem. So I towed Bruno round, and as we prepared for it, got the tyres warmed up and in and at the right temperature and pressure, I knew when I crossed the start-finish line that Bruno had set himself up too close to me.
Okay.
So by the time we got to Goodwood,
Yeah.
and before Church, he'd be too close to maximise the tow.
Yeah, okay.
So, and he overtook me, did his lap time, and then we swapped over. And so he towed me around, and I made damn sure that I'd set myself up at a nice gap
Yeah.
to maximise the tow
Your
around
tow.
the full lap, which
Yeah.
I did. And I accidentally stuck it on pole position, and then that was in the
That's
dry.
funny.
The following day was in the wet. Don't forget, I was coaching for the team at the time, so I'd not driven a racing car since the Lola Dome,
Right.
the best part of 10 months previous.
Right.
So I'm a little bit rusty.
Yeah.
And then I've gone into the wet race, having had no wet run in any car for ages.
Yeah.
And Bruno was running third. We couldn't get him in front of Jarvis, who was second for Carlin
Okay.
at the time. So I had no other option
But to go and win.
but to win the race.
That's
and that's
funny.
what we did.
Wow.
I think for the next race I qualified 8th or something, so I wasn't going to help the other drivers because they qualified further up. So pulled out and I was back to driver coaching duties on the Sunday.
Amazing. Just straight into it. But you took your opportunity, mate, and
Yeah.
obviously proved to a lot of people that you'd still got it. God, I'm flicking backwards and forwards on timeline here a little bit. Oh, this is back to Macau, isn't it? Formula 2000. What were they then? Were they like similar to like a cross between F3 and?
No, it was close to what you drove, I think, a Vauxhall Lotus.
Oh, was it?
It was.
Okay.
It was like the Asian version of a Vauxhall Lotus with wings that didn't do too much, but were more there for show. It
Yeah.
had slick tyres. It had a H-pattern dog box.
2-litre engine, was it?
And this was my first year in Macau, and I won the race. It was just to learn the circuit before going on to Formula 3.
Right, right.
But that was a funny story because I went out there with a brown envelope. I had this guy actually phone me up saying,
Danny
"Do you wanna
Watts and a
do
brown
that?"
envelope. What could possibly go wrong?
Yeah.
There, what like?
No, this was amazing, and this was the start of my passion for Macau, is going out to Macau at 20 years of age, having only done short haul flights before around Europe, right?
Yeah.
And then, you've got to make your way to Macau via Hong Kong. Right, okay, and it was all a bit of a blur. If you can do it, it's 800 quid. If you bring 800 quid cash, that's great. And it was an English guy that sorted it all out called Tim Huxley, who's one of my closest friends now. He's been based in Hong Kong for many years. He has backed a lot of drivers in the past, is a Macau legend, made all the hospitality there for us. And who I've since stayed very close friends with. Now, he said, okay, it'll cost you 800 quid to do the race and you'll love the
800
circuit.
quid.
I've never heard
Macau.
of the Macau Grand Prix before,
Right,
How
right, yeah.
prestigious it was.
Yeah.
So I went out there thinking, and this is just after I'd won the Formula Renault UK Championship. So I guess I was a little bit self-assured, a little bit
Yeah.
overconfident,
Yeah.
thinking, if I can win at any UK track, then I can win at this place called Macau.
Yeah.
It must be quite easy. And what a shock I was in for. So I didn't do any homework. There was no simulators back then to learn the circuits like you can now.
Yeah.
And I rocked up for first practice, gave the guy that I was meant to meet there, called Barry Forth, an English guy that ran the car for me, 800 quid in a brown envelope, and I looked to my left and saw my car with my name on it. And the last thing he said to me before I went out for first practice on Thursday morning was, don't go fast, learn the circuit, don't crash. Yeah, I know what I'm doing. Thanks mate, yeah. I went out, started my first flying lap at the final corner, I crashed.
Did you?
I crashed, and now that was a highly humbling moment.
Yeah.
Brought me back down to earth with a bang, and he gave me such a rollicking that brought me back in line.
Yeah.
So the next day was qualifying, so I'd missed the practice now. I was still driving around not knowing whether the next corner coming up was a left or a right.
Is it quite a long lap round there?
Very long. It was 6.2k.
Right, yeah,
Yeah,
it's a decent
long lap.
sort of spa sort of length then, really.
And look, what you forget is that you go across the start-finish straight all the way down, a long straight down into Lisboa, which is effectively turn 3, long straight, and it gets very tight and narrow to a point where on one part of the circuit it's full-time yellow flag zone because the track is that narrow, you can't actually fit 2 cars around the Macau hairpin.
Interesting.
So I stuck it on pole, not knowing really still where the corners
You still
were
stuck
going.
it on pole even though you didn't know the circuit, did
yeah.
you?
And I won the race.
Nice.
But the lesson learnt from that was to listen to what your engineer says, be humble and don't think you know it all.
Yeah.
And that was a very good lesson learnt as a young driver that paid dividends later on in my career.
Yeah, mega. So you learned your lesson the hard way, I suppose.
Yes.
There were some other photos from here, from Porsche Super Cups. Tell me about how that all came about. There was an earlier photo I think I found from the BRDC. Ooh, I'll have to stick it up on the screen when I do the edit. But there was. So how did this all come about? This is probably a later picture. I'm guessing it's like red line sort of
That's
days.
it.
But so you raced at British Grand Prix Support, did you? Was that the first Super Cup race or Cup race you did?
So I did Porsche Carerra Cup GB. I missed the first round because Richard Westbrook was in the car, and then he went off to do Porsche Super Cup. So a gap opened up at Redline Racing to race the Irwin Tools car, and I had to bring a tiny budget, but ultimately it was near enough free.
Yeah.
And I got my prize money, which was great, which supplemented my income
So you
from
could earn a
working
living
down at the school here with you.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
And I jumped in the car, and it was one of the hardest cars I've ever driven because there's definitely a knack to it. But
particularly under the brakes, I hear it's locking brakes is a
locking brakes, and it was a sequential, and you had to do the clutch and the blip at the same time. So it was not like now where you got the paddle shift.
Yes.
It was you had to dip the clutch, and you have to heel and toe.
Yeah.
And if you didn't get that heel and toe right, you'd lock the rears. And as I found out leading the race here at Silverstone on the National, I locked the rears, getting the blip wrong on the down change, and spun into the gravel at Brooklands.
No.
So yeah, I learnt a lot in that car. And it was the start of my journey of being paid as a racing driver.
Right, okay.
Doing the sport that I love.
Yeah.
So I did quite well in Porsche Carerra Cup, won quite a lot of races. I could never win the championship because I missed the first round. Following year, moved on to the Super Cup with Walter Lechner Racing.
Yeah, I'll see if I can find some. That's quite a
Yeah,
good
that's
shot.
that's Knock Hill.
Oh, is that knockout?
Yeah.
Chicane, must be the chicane.
I either won or crashed in Porsche Carerra Cup.
Amazing. So that led you to what, prototypes from that point? Was that quite a fast jump, was it?
It felt quite natural, to be honest, because the prototype, I just drove it as everything I learnt in the British Formula 3 Championship. So it was faster, but it had similar aero. So the technique, the way you drive it was very similar. You had carbon brakes, so the brakes were a bit stronger, but it was natural to adapt to them. And I just loved the prototype. And I also loved the fact working in a team environment. So we had Nick Leventis, who's the team owner, and Johnny Kane, who has since become, having been his teammate for 7.5 years, one of my closest friends, and still see him. I saw him the other day at, where were we, Mugello, up on the bank coaching, and then we'll go to Barcelona, and there we'll be at turn 4 watching, and we'll have a catch up.
Yeah.
Because he's doing coaching, same as me. So, you know, in the times we shared in motorhomes, you know, at Le Mans, doing Panini football stickers, because Le Mans always June, and it was like the World Cup every 4 years, or the European Championship, and to kill time, because it ends up being a long week at Le Mans.
Yeah.
With being there for the, you know, you're in the town centre doing scrutiny on a Sunday to when you're actually out on track on a Wednesday, there's a lot of time to kill and not actually that much to do in the region. So we used to get football stickers, and when we get swaps, you know,
Really?
I've got a duplicate, you can have that one. Yeah, I want Ronaldo, give me that one. And
Funny.
we'd have a right
Was there any
laugh,
Oxford
you know.
United players in amongst all of that?
Not at the World Cup, mate. No. So I mean, yeah, that was, you know, it was just a wonderful period that was probably a bit too good to be true, and I took it for granted, which was probably a big mistake. And of course, all good things come to an end, and on this occasion it did. And I fell out of love with it.
Well, tell me about. Look, so you ended up doing Le Mans. There's loads and loads of pictures here online. Racing with Karun. Oh, talking about the. Is this a driver's parade? I'm guessing through the town, is it, or something?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you ended up winning your class at Le Mans in
2010. We won
2010.
LMP2, and that was 5th overall at the time, the highest. The highest finishing ever LMP2 car.
Yeah.
And then in 2013 we won LMP1 privateers category.
Yeah.
So wow, I mean, look, to win Le Mans twice in 7 goes at it is quite a decent percentage rate, you know.
I remember reading, because I've talked about this to other people and I've said, you know, Danny Watts, who's Danny Watts? And I remember you out qualifying all of the P1 cars at, I thought it was Silverstone, but it was Hungary 2010. So having an LMP2 car on outright pole, that must have been a decent lap.
One of the best laps I've ever done in my whole career. And you know that feeling, Ant, of when you're in the zone, in that totally everything else is blocked out, doesn't exist, and it's just you in the car driving around for an out lap, 3 push laps and box, and you're totally in tune with what the car's doing, and the car suited the circuit because it was so nimble and agile, good change of direction, did everything you want. That was the HPD LMP2, I can't remember, it's the ARC01C or something, I can't remember now. But anyway, we stuck it on pole overall, and we were always going to go backwards in the race because we didn't have the speed down the straight.
They were quick, the P1 cars were quicker down the straight, were they?
Yeah, they were. They had another 150 brake or something. But still, to achieve that, I was super proud of that moment. Not just for me, obviously, because it's team sport and you need everyone involved, but it was just the effort the boys put in back at the workshop. We were based here at Silverstone, and it was a very small, it was a very hard-working team, and we had a lot of fun with it. We took the racing very seriously, clearly, at that level, but we had, oh my God, a lot of fun doing WEC, you know, travelling the world, Shanghai, Fuji, you know, all these fantastic circuits. It was a little bit of a pinch yourself moment.
Yeah, yeah. And culminated in this, I'll show the picture of this, is like one of the best selfies, which I'm guessing you took. Now I'm rapidly running through these photos. It was a photo of you on the podium with the boys, 2010, on the top step in P2. That's like the best selfie ever.
It is, yeah.
It's like amazing.
Yeah, and oh my word, Johnny's got one as well, the same, but he didn't bring his
he's got
phone.
it on his WhatsApp profile.
He's got his phone, so he asked me to take it. So
that's funny.
Yeah, he's got it as his WhatsApp picture, isn't he?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what you don't realise is the amount of effort that goes in behind the scenes in this race. It's you know, you think you can just drive around on your stint for a triple or quadruple, which is like 3 hours in the car, and just get into a nice rhythm, nice and gently drive around, finish the stint. However, you've got live data telemetry. It goes to the pit wall, and if you start backing off in your corner speeds, the team can see it and they're pushing you on. We can see can you go a bit quicker around Porsche curves, or yep, okay.
Right.
So what I'm trying to say
they're on
is,
your case, and running it like a sprint race, are they?
Oh, it was a 24-hour sprint race, yeah. And
Yeah.
I'll never forget that being the whole way through. You asked Johnny, 2010, it was a sprint race. And we were up against the likes of Marco Werner, David Brabham and Marino Franchitti in the American car, which is identical to ours.
Right.
Which made it even better winning it, of course, because we had a
because you got 3 pros then, yeah. So
they had 3 pros, and we had a silver driver.
Yeah.
And it was just flat out every lap. And I remember standing on the podium at this time, as we're looking at it now, being mentally and emotionally drained. It wasn't a physically demanding circuit because you had all the Mulsanne straights, of course, to relax.
Yeah.
But it was just, the driving at 2 o'clock in the mornings, a whole lot different to driving in broad daylight, let me tell you. And it required a lot more mental capacity and concentration and focus and little things like the headlights in your mirrors. it's difficult to tell if they're 20 metres behind you or 200 metres behind you.
Yes, because it's rattling around a lot.
No, it's everyone's on main beam fundamentally, aren't they?
Yeah, so you're just getting constantly
blinded, and luckily we're in a faster car anyway, so you don't have to spend too much time in your mirrors. But you know, like I used to ask the team to tell me jokes to keep my brain working, keep me motivated, keep me enthused in the car, you know.
Can you remember
and that's
any
what
of them?
kept me going. And then during the daytime, you know, oh, can you tell us the football scores? And so I cross the start-finish line, and they'll be rattling off the
still
Premier
want
League
to find out how
scores.
Oxford United are getting on.
Oh, that was my priority, yeah.
Yeah, of course it was. That's your priority today. I'd be mindful that is in 20 minutes' time, we've got Oxford United playing less than 20 minutes' time.
That's it, a big relegation battle today. No, but yeah, I mean, you know, but it's a team event. That was the one thing I remember, the transition for being Formula 3, as we talked about earlier. It's all kind of about you, the driver gets all the credit, whereas when you move up to a team kind of discipline, like sports car racing, like endurance racing, and like this Le Mans 24-hour, it's you need your two teammates. You know, you need them to be fast, reliable, consistent. You need your mechanics to prep the car, every pit stop, fuel at every time. You need your engineers to make sure you've got a setup that's easy to drive, is consistent, is good for everyone, not just for you, but for everybody. And it's, you know, that moment, as we see now, staying on the podium is just, it brings a tear to your eye knowing that everyone in that team has put in, you know, a graft. They've grafted to win that. They've put in a shift. You see the mechanics at Le Mans on TV, don't you? They're asleep in the garage, and all of a sudden they get woke up because the car needs to come in to change tyres, do fuel, a driver change, or there's a safety car. There's so many different elements to winning it.
Well, what a combination, you and Johnny. That's the main thing. One of the things that he said when I spoke to him briefly last night was, he said there was no ego. He said between us there was no ego either. And if you've got two really grounded drivers, and even if you're driving with like a silver, albeit a good silver, that you're just maximising each other. So that you're not trying to outscore, outpoint, or outqualify. It's just like, right, let's just do the maximum job. So you said that you did that for a good number of years. So obviously one of the main things that I wanted to talk to you about is what you're doing now and what took you to the point of doing what you're doing now. So you raced in P2 up to the point, and then what ended up happening? What ended up coming to an end?
So it came to the end because I don't know. I guess the first thing was I was getting a bit too comfortable in my position within Straka, and that it was all a bit too good to be true. So then I kind of thought I'd have it for years and years and years, which 7.5 years is not too bad as a professional driver. But then I was getting into other things in life, like drinking, which started to spiral out of control, shall we say, to a point where my racing with Straka finished. I had a lot of time on my hands, which was difficult because when you're used to travelling the world with a small group of people who are your friends, and that to all come crashing down and having a lot of time at home doing nothing, I turned to the booze, to drink, to alcohol to kill the time. And that snowballed into being an addiction, which is still a battle right now to this day in beating. And actually I'll quickly, humbly mention the fact that on the 29th of this month will be my 5th year of sobriety, not having a drink at all, which is bigger than any achievement I've done in motorsport, like winning Le Mans. Le Mans seems quite, nothing, very small fry compared to hitting 5 years of not picking up a drink, to be honest with you, because that's a constant battle that we're currently winning, but it'll always be there in the background.
I made a monumental fuck up at the start of this podcast by saying cheers. I noticed that, and then as soon as I said it and you clinked the glasses, I was like, you fucking idiot.
No, well, that sort of thing
French,
doesn't affect me at all.
No.
And I guess I went off the rails, as you say. I went to rehab. As I was in rehab, my father called me and he said, I've been trying to get hold of you and you're not allowed your phone in rehab. And I sneaked my phone for a short while, and he says, "Oh, I need to tell you, I've got cancer." I said, "All right, okay, yeah," and that moment was a huge, big kick up the bum for me, because it was the moment, the light bulb moment, where it said, "Right, Dan, you have really got to start sorting yourself out now, knuckle down, and bring some sort of stability, normality, and discipline back into your life."
So what took you to rehab in the first place? Was it the point, because I remember you saying to me, you said something along the lines of you had to submit, you had to get to the point of submission. When was that?
It was rock bottom. You hit rock bottom. And what I mean by that is I'm sitting in my living room on my own, crying my heart out on my knees, begging for help, because I can't help myself anymore. And I needed to seek external help to give me some direction in my life. And that's when we found this brilliant, fantastic rehab centre in the Midlands that I absolutely loved and enjoyed every minute of being there. And it was where I learned a lot about how the brain works, how you come to the decisions you make. And having spent that time there, I came out with a new outlook, a new focus on what I wanted to achieve in life. And it is when my father then unfortunately passed 7 months later after telling me his diagnosis, that I went to the Open University and learned about counselling and psychology. I did a 3-year full-time course and put a lot of my coaching on hold, and got that bachelor's degree, and have since utilised that in terms of bringing it back into motorsport and essentially into the British Racing Drivers Club, who didn't have nothing in that area, and I've started to coordinate and run that programme, which we started late last year, 2025.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's funny, I did a little bit of a kind of think about, you know, the journey on that, and myself and Rob and you work together, and there's been times when I've been down with Rob down in Cornwall, and we've sat, what can we do to help Danny, because we knew you weren't in a great place back then, and we were like, well, should we invite him down? This was during lockdown, and I remember speaking to you, I remember hunting you down actually, because I was speaking to Johnny, I bumped into Johnny at Oulton Park. Have you heard from Danny? No, I haven't spoken to him for ages. Christ. And then I phoned Fiona and like, can I get hold, because you'd come off social media, just come off everything. And I can't tell you how much, I suppose how much it means, how qualified you are to be able to do that, because, you know, we spoke to each other when we were both in not a great place. I don't know if you even remember this, but in 2020, when I was not in a great place, I was going through a divorce and all of those things, and you know, we spoke to each other, and you weren't in a great place at that point, and for me, like, to see you get to this point, just like winning your battle every day, you know, like you say, it's a great achievement, and yeah, just congratulations that you've got to this point and you're continuing to do it.
Yeah, and I think I'm lucky. I'm one of the lucky ones, because believe me, there's a lot of people out there that don't have family and friends around them that can support them, pick up the phone, see if they're all right. Whereas my mum, my partner Sharon, I've got a fantastic son, and just that small group of people who are there to just sort of pick up the pieces, really, because what you don't realise is when you're in the midst of your own issues, how it affects other people as well.
Everyone around, yeah.
So not only did I drag myself down, but I was dragging them down as well. And I suppose the bigger picture is that having had personal experience of being rock bottom and going through such a torrid time, self-induced albeit, but then coming out the other side, matching that with my degree now, what I learned, the psychological side of things, but also the counselling, put all that together gives me a good skill set in helping others.
Yeah.
And my goal now is to help others that may or may not get to a stage in their racing careers, and, you know, people within motorsport broadly, if they're struggling, going through a bad point, then we at the BRDC are there with a dedicated email address and phone number to get in contact with us, so they can pick up the phone and we can just listen. Even if it's just listen, get something off your chest, share something that you don't feel confident sharing with close ones. It's totally confidential, discreet, it won't go any further. And then of course, if we need to do anything more to help, whether that be help you get into rehab or give you some counselling or whatever level, we can tap into that and we can help.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I'll make sure I put the email address and the phone number in the description for my YouTube video, and this is available on Spotify as well, so I'll just put that in the description. I can even put it on screen, if we'll do that afterwards. There was a couple of questions that Rob, actually, because I said, what sort of stuff would you ask? And it's an amazing thing. I should say that. Amazing thing that it's essentially quite a selfish sport, really, because there's only one person can win a race, and so for you to come in and actually provide that as a thing that I'm guessing it's a good thing for you. You enjoy doing that. Is that one of your motivations, because you're feeling you're putting something back into the sport?
Yeah, but it's not about me. It's about helping others, because I think the trouble is, and the problem is in motorsport, it's kind of a macho, egotistical thing whereby, guys that have won races at any level, for that matter, it doesn't matter if it's Formula 4 1600 or Formula 1 Grand Prix, right? At some point we go through tough times, we go through struggles, something, we will go through a bad patch, family, finance, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And our natural built-in resistance is, it's okay, brush it under the carpet, bottle it up, and not do anything about it. Now the trouble is with bottling stuff up is like a big bottle of Moet Chandon, is that the more it fizzes, the top's going to burst, and it's all going to
goes off like
a bang. So ultimately the idea is to not get to that point, is to stop it hopefully before it even gets there, by talking, by opening up.
Yeah, something that blokes don't do particularly well.
Something that blokes don't do particularly well.
Yeah.
And not only that, but with the fantastic influx of women racing drivers coming into it now, there's a space also for them to talk.
Yeah.
So it's just showing awareness, making people aware that there is something there that they can tap into.
Yeah.
Whether they have the want to or not, it's
an independent
there.
lifeline, isn't it?
Yeah, and we will listen. We can share, we can talk about it, we can find solutions, and ultimately we want to help people. That's the bottom line. We just want to help, and that's what we're there for.
Sounds mega. What a really noble cause. One of the things that Rob asked was, at 40, what are you, 48? 40.
Steady.
You're 46.
46.
He said 46 actually, but in my mind it's 48. What would a 46-year-old Danny Watts say to a 20-year-old Danny Watts? What bit of advice would you give yourself as a young driver?
I think the biggest thing I've learned is just to enjoy it. And the reason why I say enjoy it is because I see up and down the paddocks, especially in the more, the younger drivers, is they're kind of doing it for maybe parents, or the parents are pushing them and they want the bigger goal of Formula 1, and realistically there's only a handful of people that are going to get to Formula 1. However, aside from Formula 1, there's plenty of opportunities to do something you love in GTs and touring cars, in other categories around the world. But I think the biggest thing is just to enjoy it and have fun, and if you enjoy it and have fun with it, you'll definitely drive better anyway.
Yeah, it's all about enjoying it. Talking of which, there's the next generation that we've talked about, your lad who's going into, what is his second year of Ginetta Juniors, is it?
Second year of Ginetta Juniors, yeah.
Yeah, and so, but you're not tending to sort of get involved in that, really, just letting him find his feet, letting him do his thing?
Exactly that, really. And look, let him make mistakes along the way, because that's how you learn and move forward from it.
Yeah.
And I'm always there. He knows that. He's got his first race coming up, and I'm just super proud of him, you know. I guess it was always going to be in the blood with mother racing touring cars and me having done a little bit of racing in the past, so it was inevitable that he was going to go down that route. The only trouble is he started too late if he wanted to make a career of it, so for him it's just, hey, go out there, have fun, enjoy it, and it also gives you better skills as a human being, to be honest, as well. You know, such as speaking to the press and TV and, you know, sponsors and how you conduct yourself. And I think it will just fast forward his learning as a teenager, which is what he is now.
Yeah, mega. Well, mate, I'm not going to keep you much longer because we've got Oxford United. Can you remember? Meathead.
I absolutely love that picture.
Back in the day.
I love that.
2007. Sorry, 2017 that was. Albufera.
Yeah.
Just skulking off to go and watch Oxford United play Hull City.
That bloke's got a beard. That bloke's got a beard.
Yeah. You need to grow a grey beard as well, mate.
Yeah.
Join the clan.
It's too itchy.
Mate.
Top man.
Thank you very much for your time. Really appreciate it. Look, we're bang on time. Look at that.
That's it.
2:27.
Get
All
home
good.
for kickoff.
Yeah. Mate, it's been a pleasure and great to see you again.
Cheers, Ant. Thank you,
Top
mate.
job, Mega. Done. Right. Good job, mate. That was wicked. That was absolutely mega. What a nice place to come. So I'd highly recommend that. Food was great. Hospitality was great. Good viewing. Open to the public. Silverstone escapade. Sounds like I'm doing a promo video, but no, it's very much appreciated to Silverstone, to Matt Stone, and to Ryan and the rest of the crew for helping arrange that. And yeah, hope you enjoy the conversation. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And remember, keep it pinned, don't lift off.